Welcome to Stardust Stereo. I'm Parker McPhinney. I'm your host. Today's the 31st of March, year 2026. Today, I'm going to speak about the upcoming full moon, which occurs on April 1st, April Fool's Day. But we're not joking. The moon is going to be full. It will do so at 7:11 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. On the East Coast, that means it will be 10:11 p.m. And if you live elsewhere, you will have to do the math. This full moon occurs at 12 degrees and 21 minutes arc of Libra. The interesting thing about this particular chart is it falls right on the USA's ascendant. And of course, we are currently undergoing a war with Iran that we started because we have people at the head that seem to want war more than they want peace. And that's a bit ironic because this full moon is in the sign of Libra. And that represents harmony, peace, justice, companionship. Libra rules balancing the scales. So will we be able to balance the scales toward peace in this new cycle? Right after this full moon, is the war peaking with the full moon? My goodness, we certainly hope so. The moon also represents the public. In this particular Libra full moon chart, the moon is on one side of the chart, and all the other planets, except for Jupiter, are on the opposite side. This particular full moon creates what's called a T-square with the planet Jupiter and then the sun and the moon. So literally, the crowbar, I call a T-square a crowbar. The crowbar is saying in this chart, can we find the midpoint, which is where Jupiter's at, and find peace? Can we come together and decide that lives, humans, are worthy of the extra effort to find peace? In your own personal life, that moon in Libra means you'll want peace. You will have the capacity to shed light on areas where perhaps more harmony could be brought to the table. An opposition of the sun and the moon always represents two forces. The sun is the I am, and the moon is the I need. And when the moon is in Libra, I need peace, I need harmony. And the sun saying, but I am right, and I am the one that's going to be in charge, and I rule. Now that sun, we know who's saying all that. That sun is also very close to Saturn. It's about 7 degrees away, and it's extremely close to Jupiter. Jupiter makes big anything it touches. So the ego of the sun is super big right now. And so how I would interpret that is everyone, leaders or not leaders, are prone to being very righteous, especially with their opinions. So I would throw you a caution. If you truly want peace, learn to weigh your words. Is saying anything going to help the situation? Or will it blow over by itself. This particular full moon chart also has what's called an inconjunct between the moon and Mercury, the mind. An inconjunct, also called the quincunx, it's got two names, but we'll just stick with the inconjunct. It's a 150-degree aspect. It's where we kind of do battle. We have to work it more. We have to practice more. We have to be more diligent with our desire to have peace tied to our words. So we can say we want peace, but then if we're scrutinizing ourselves about what comes out and the way it comes out, do they reflect somebody who wants peace? This particular chart, this full moon chart, also reminded me when I was analyzing it, I suddenly had this vision of that image of the lone man in front of the tank at Tiananmen Square. Those of you who are old enough to know and remember that will be with me on this. If you aren't old enough to remember Tiananmen Square and the man that stood in front of this tank, which doesn't always go well. It did on that particular day. But there's been other people who have stood in front of tanks and just been mowed down. I'm specifically also thinking of Rachel Corrie that stood in front of an Israeli tank in March of 2003, and the IDF just mowed her down. So that gives you a little something to chew on and think about. Those armies that are heartless, that are so threatened in their existence. They're in an army tank, and you're in the human body, and they still mow you down. I call them cowards. This full moon will create an enormous amount of uncomfortableness for the USA. In order for a speedy solution to any conflicts right now, either globally or personally, you have to look to your base. You have to look to your fundamental base of emotional power. People usually will not do something that they don't want to for very long. So ask yourself, am I comfortable with any opposition that I currently have in my life? Am I developing stomach issues? Is my gut telling me, I can't do this anymore? You need to pay heed to that. We will have many sudden separations this week. It could be issues of not ready to commit. It could also develop in the form of disagreements with the family, imbalance of power, love, money issues, weighing everything during this week in through the kaleidoscope of, is this going to bring peace? Or am I being a bully? Am I standing my ground? Or am I being too soft? Finding that balance is so important. This 12th degree of Libra in the Sabian symbols is miners are emerging from the deep coal mine. We'll probably hear more about Trump's desire to send people in the coal mines. But if we round it up one notch to 13 Libra, because it's at 1221, it's children blowing soap bubbles. I like that imagery. But we must remember that soap bubbles, any bubble, burst. And that's what speaks to me with this full moon, that things are about to burst. that they have gone as far as they can, that the masses or the individual is just going to unplug. They're not going to contribute. They will not carry on. They will not continue to support the imbalance that they see. It will become too uncomfortable for them. So get ready for the bubble to burst, because it's going to. And that's when the inconvenient emotional truths will begin to emerge. In this chart, Mars and Neptune are in mutual reception. So are we dreaming of what is false or living in la la land? This would also be the time to look in your personal life. If any projects that you're working on, do they have authenticity to them? The moon in Libra at this 12 degrees and 21 minutes arc is in a subclause of Aquarius. It's Libra Aquarius. And Aquarius requires you to use your intellect. Libra wants to be fair, but it is truly a balancing act of using fairness, but not becoming too cold, truly being a good judge. So the temperature is going to change in America. The temperature of justice and is this a just war will come up for conversation. I'm a pacifist, so I think it's just sheer ignorance when you can't come to the table and use the power of our super brain and find compromises. But this is where we are in the world. The Mars placement in this full moon chart is in opposition to the USA's Neptune. So again, we have another message of, is this realistic? Are we living in a dream world? We need some people that can face reality and not dig ourselves in deeper. So as the money crunch starts to accelerate around the globe, we will have human beings that are more eager to find solutions. This week is an excellent week to shed light on the solutions that you need in your life to help it have more harmony, to discover and dig up, is that voice in my head the ego or one that wants fairness? Do you want to be right or do you want to be married? Some people don't want either, or some people want both. You know? It truly is a time when we can work a little bit harder to find the tools that will bring peace. I'm Parker McPhinney. This is Stardust Stereo. I'd like to thank you for listening. I'd like to thank my patrons. You know who you are. And if you'd like to become a patron, you can do so at patreon.com/ParkerMcP. And I want to remind you, you are made of stardust. So go shine.